Hello and thanks for joining me today. This is the second in a series of videos that we'll be doing to keep you up to date as far as the state of our business. Today I'm going to talk about some of the proposed operational changes that we're considering. On the last program I discussed with you some of the drivers that have contributed to the financial situation we find ourselves in today. Much of that has to do with the overall decline in mail volume, mainly the steep decline in the use of first-class mail. In the last 4 years, we've lost 22% of our total mail volume and 26% of first-class mail. And had it not been for your high level of productivity over the last several years, the situation financially would have been much worse than it is today. Now let's take a look into the future. The mix of mail becomes less and less profitable as we lose first-class mail, and that is the major issue that we're facing. So as the volume shrinks, the fact that first class is shrinking a lot faster is what puts substantial pressure on margins, and that is the driver behind keeping post offices open, delivering mail 6 days a week, and that's why we've got to address some of these issues going forward. But what's going on under these numbers is something that's very critical. The first class contribution, you can see, in 2010 was $17 billion. When you lose half of that revenue, the contribution in the year 2020 is going to be closer to $8 billion. And that's with an assumed 2% price change every year. Standard mail stays pretty much the same. We charge a lot less for standard. We have less work involved with standard, but you make less money, less contribution to overhead on those accounts. So as you lose the volume in first class and you lose the contribution, that again is what puts pressure on all the operations, all the things that you do. So you've got two approaches on this, things that we can do ourselves and things that we need help on from a congressional standpoint. From a legislation standpoint, resolving retiree health benefits, okay? It's not eliminating, it's not running away from them, it's resolving. The second thing is moving from 6 to 5 day, and the third thing is getting our FERS money back. There are only three things. People say that, oh, the Postal Service has added more on. No, we're just talking more in depth about each of those three things going forward. We're going to talk about that next time. But for now, let's concentrate on things that are in our control, and these are the networks. As this volume shrinks, you have to shrink the network. You cannot continue to run the same size and the same scope of a network when you've lost 22% of your mail, and when you start looking forward, you're going to lose another 20%. Any organization, whether it's a private concern or government, needs to be able to shrink down to match up with the revenues that come across to the bottom line, and that's what we're going to do. So the three areas I want to talk to you about here as we finish up this discussion today are our logistics network, our retail network, and our delivery network, and what to expect going forward from there. Number one, from a logistics standpoint, we are going to be substantially shrinking the number of plants where we work mail. Right now we work mail in about 520 plants. Over the course of the next year and a half, we will be working mail in about 200 or fewer. So there will be substantial consolidation. We're going to be moving equipment. We're going to be eliminating equipment, and we're going to change service standards so that we can actually work the mail on more of a 24-hour clock perspective within the plants that we'll still be operating on. So we've got many changes coming up. We are working with our regulatory commission. We're required to put plans in front of them. We're working with Congress on this. We're also working with all the stakeholders so that people know exactly what's going to happen from a standpoint of service standard changes and what we'll be doing from a standpoint of bringing mail into our operations. From a retail standpoint, we've talked about that. You've seen the notification out that we're reviewing about 3,700 post offices, stations, and branches. These are low traffic operations. You have to review them. As the volume goes down, you have to look and see what are some other options. Village Post Office, for example, we've introduced. We have opened one already. There's a lot of interest. It gives customers the same access or better to the post office to most products. They don't get all products, okay, but most products, and it gives us the ability to cut some costs going forward. We will continue to review up to about 15,000 post offices over the next 3 to 4 years. So it's an ongoing process. Again, it's a responsible thing to do as we see a change in the demand for postal services going forward. The third thing is delivery routes. And we've been working, and I've been very pleased with the fact that we've been able to work the last couple of years with the NALC and the rural carriers on route changes. I expect to continue to do that. We think that We've already consolidated about 20,000 routes in city delivery. There's about another 20,000 that will continue to be reduced over the course of the next couple years. That's going to happen for a number of reasons. Number one, DPS letters. Number two, DPS flats. And number three, flats in general. Working flat mail is down about 45 to 50% in the last 4 years. We see a continued decrease there. You have to make changes in the office time. It makes no sense to have the amount of office time, the number of carriers with time in the office when there are ways to make changes and take costs out of the system. So that's going to happen. And again, I would encourage continued cooperation and working with this as we work through these changes over the next couple of years. So what does that translate to from an employee perspective? Ties back to what we came out with a few weeks back in the white papers. It means we need about 220,000 fewer employees, both career and non-career, by the year 2015. If you take a look back over the last 10 plus years, we've reduced the workforce, the headcount of the workforce, by about 250,000 people. And despite these reductions, we are still substantially in the red because of the volume of mail that we've lost and the requirement to prepay the retirement funding. Your productivity has been continually improving over the years, and it's really helped us tremendously with cost reductions. But like any other business facing what we face, we need to continue to do more looking at the future. Historically, we've been very successful working through attrition, but I don't know that it's going to get us to where we need to be. If you look at the historical trends on attrition, we think that over the course of the next 3+ years, we'll be able to attrit maybe around 100,000 people. But by 2015, our workforce, given the volume we anticipate, needs to be at 425,000 career and non-career employees. Today we have 645,000. And that's why we've asked Congress for some help with some additional flexibilities to take actions that we think we may need to take. Right now there's 157,000 people who can retire with full retirement, and over the next 3 years there's going to be another 100,000 who will be eligible. So we'll have 250,000 people who can retire with full benefits by the end of 2014. Again, understand it is my intention to use attrition as much as possible, but again, when you look at the number of people that are expected to leave the organization, it's only about half of the number that we need to reduce to, from a headcount perspective, by 2015. So from a responsibility standpoint, my responsibility for this organization, we've gone to Congress and said attrition may not get us to where we need to be. We need to be able to adjust the workforce size more quickly to survive in today's economy. And therefore, we have raised the possibility of legislative actions that changes our layoff protections and collective bargaining agreements and puts a process, a RIF process, in that the federal government uses for reductions. Again, this is all, we're working through these things, understand that there's a lot of moving parts here, but it's something I have a responsibility to do considering what we know is going to happen to the revenues and volume in the next couple of years. We're looking to make sure that we solidify, stabilize postal finances going forward. You can't keep a network the same size when you've lost 20% of the mail. You can't keep a network the same size when you're going to lose 35 to 40% of the mail. The responsible thing to do is act now. Don't wait till it's too late. Don't wait till we're in a situation where we have got to be bailed out financially. You don't want that, and that's what we're trying to do right now. So you have my assurances. I'll keep you informed. I will continue to work with all the stakeholders. I will bring these issues and we'll try to get some resolution around the legislation going forward. The next time I talk to you, I'm going to be filling you on the legislation. I'm going to be filling you in on the more definition around health benefits and retirement, and I'll also have some more definition about what we're going to be doing from a network standpoint. For now, stay focused on providing great customer service. You're doing a great job. I know this is tough and trying times. We will get through this, but we've got to take the necessary action we're doing, and I'll continue to communicate. Thanks for everything that you do.